Harrison for Card Player TV, sitting here with Daniel Negreanu. You just won your 4th Bracelet $2,000 Limit Hold'em event. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was easy peasy. I rock at Limit Hold'em.
You rock at Limit Hold'em?
It was tough. I mean, Limit Hold'em's always tough because you can't just go wire to wire. You're always going to have swings, and if you don't win at every level, other people are, so you're going to get past. It's not like a no-limit tournament in that sense.
So how did the event begin for you? Did you start off well?
Yeah, I started off an hour late because that day I was golfing with my buddy Patrick. We had a match that went really good, so I was in good spirits.
It went really well for you?
We would have been done by about 3:30, so I could get there in time, but we played with Patrick, who is the second slowest golfer in the world behind Brandon Adams.
Okay.
And so I got there an hour late, but with a fresh stack, because that's the rule here at the World Series now.
That's nice.
A great rule. And so I went off pretty good. You know, I was pretty steadily among the leaders for most of the day and throughout the entire tournament, really.
So what skills are most important when you're playing Limit Hold'em? I mean, everyone plays no Limit Hold'em these days, but it's a different game.
I honestly believe that if you can play Limit Hold'em well, you can play anything well.
Really?
Yeah, because Limit Hold'em is a game where it's all about flop play. It's the one game where you can't move in on me. You know, if you re-raise me before the flop, you're still going to have to see that flop, and you know it. So the real difference between the great Limit Hold'em players and maybe some of the average ones is those situations where you're getting like 10 to 1 to call or 12 to 1 to call, and you throw your hand away. Like a quote-unquote math guy, and I use that term a lot, but yeah, you know, a lot of players will just feel like, well, I'm getting 10 to 1, I have to call. Mm-hmm. But the really good players can identify situations and make the right fold, and they're going to be right more often than you need to be to make it a successful play. Like, you know, if you're wrong once out of whatever, like, I can't even think now because my brain is fried because I played yesterday. But if you're, you know, if you're wrong the wrong amount of times, which I can't even think of right now,
then that's not a good thing.
No, that's a bad thing. But but the truth is, the better players, they can make really thin laydowns and thin value bets, and that's what Limit Hold'em's all about.
How important is reading people in Limit Hold'em? Does that play into that?
There are more tells available in Limit Hold'em
than there are in no limit.
There's tons. Well, so the speed of how quickly someone acts, often because it's a faster-paced game. In no limit, people are deliberate, you know, and they're very slow. But in limit, people act quickly. So, you know, if you're reaching for chips, they might already have a raise out before you've even done it. Mm-hmm. There's subtle things that you can pick up in limit, glancing at the chips, whole bunch of different things, more so than any other event. So that's another thing that really plays into my strengths. Well, also, people are more relaxed in general when they play limit, so they're more likely to talk. They're more likely to relax, and then they're more likely to give away information.
Gives you some clues?
Yeah.
So what about bluffing? Is it harder to pull off a bluff in Limit Hold'em?
Yeah, bluffing is different.
Seems like you're going to get called down.
Yeah, bluffing is very different at Limit Hold'em. You just don't do it very often. You do it differently. Your bluffing is going to be more pre-flop and on the flop, where you're stabbing away pots, being aggressive. But you just don't make as many bluffs on the river simply because the tendency for most players in Limit Hold'em is to pay off way too much on the river. So it does. And online, I absolutely I play at Poker Stars in 2 and 400 game, and I find the game to be, for the most part, really soft because you have guys like when they have ace high, they usually don't fold. Regardless of what the board comes, like 9, 10, Jack, Queen with 4 spades, they got ace deuce. I call. What do you got? Oh, you got a straight. Dang it! I mean, like, it shocks me how often they like. And I feel like to beat that game, it's as easy as just folding sometimes on the turn when you don't have the best hand, and then throwing away ace high once in a while. But the tendency for most of those guys is to just get a hand, a free flop. No matter what boards comes out, they just kind of put their head down and go call, 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 or actually raise, and then call.
Is that how the field was in the event yesterday?
No, not quite as much. The live players don't play quite like the online players. Online players generally call way too much with ace high. They call down. Where live players fold a little bit more often. Not to say that that's necessarily better. They're a little weaker. The live players are a little weaker. Online's more aggressive. Online players force you to have the best hand, where live players you can kind of push them off the flop a little bit. Like if it comes Jack 9-4, a live player, in these tournaments usually will fold ace 7. An online player would think about 5-betting you.
Why do you think that is?
I
Just
think,
a different dynamic?
Well, the truth is an aggressive style is appropriate for Limit Hold'em. So I think the live online players have figured that out, and they understand that so that they generally are more aggressive. Having said that, I think most of them go too far. There are some that are really good. There's one that was in the tournament. His name's Papa Warbucks or something on Poker Stars. He was good. He understood the nuances, and he understood that you actually fold sometimes. But a lot of guys in that game, I watch it sometimes, or even when I'm not playing, and just say, what are these people thinking? Like a simple example. I'll give you a simple one. This is just mind-blowing. Guy raises, I call in the big blind.
What stage of the tournament was this?
This is not a tournament. This is online.
Oh, this is online, okay.
Yeah. And it comes queen, queen, jack, rainbow. I check call the flop. The turn is an 8, goes check, check. The river's a 5, and I bet. Now, the guy has king 6 high. He calls me. He can't beat 8-9. He can't beat 9-10. He can't beat any jack, any queen. He can't beat king 10 if I miss a straight trade. He can't beat ace high, but he called me with king 6. That's just horrendously bad. Just beyond bad.
Astonishing.
Yeah, I had the same hand, but that's besides the point. But no, really. I mean, how often is that going to be the case? He just can't beat any hand in the deck. Yeah. And I bet the river thinking that this guy should fold ace high here, but he's just called anyway. So just the idea that people just call way too often limit hold'em when they should just throw it away.
Well, let's talk about this tournament a little bit that you just won. The final table, going in, you were the only pro there, a lot of amateurs. Did you play more aggressively because of that?
Well, I wouldn't say I was the only pro. One of the guys in the game is actually, he plays on PokerStars, is Bluffmania in 86 or something.
Right.
He was Richard Lee, and he was real scary to me because he was very aggressive and unpredictable. Also, David Baker. He's, I don't know him very well. It was the first time I met him, but I know from other
sounds
people.
Familiar, yeah.
He's played some, high limit play. He's played some high limit games and things.
So there was some talent at the final table.
Yeah, there's definitely talent. From a tournament setting perspective, there's clearly the experience was way on my side because none of them have really been involved in that kind. I mean, I was listening to the intros and none of them had won a limit hold'em tournament. None of them really made any final tables at the World Series.
And you have a lot of experience. In the game.
So I knew that through adversity, when things would go bad, that I would be the one that'd be most comfortable. And I had a good feel for when to push a little more, when the blinds and A's became more valuable to steal. And I've played so many limit hold'em tournaments, won a lot of them, that it was very comfortable for me. So I didn't necessarily play more aggressively, not throughout. I did at certain times when it was important to. Yeah.
So are limit hold'em tournaments very different than limit hold'em cash games?
A little bit. Limit cash games are a little looser.
Okay. As you said, like on PokerStars.
3-bet a little more. I play them slightly differently too. Generally, in a cash game, I'm 3-betting almost always. But in a tournament, there are certain situations where I would just smooth call. Say, for example, hands like Queen Jack of Spades. If I'm playing online, I'm usually going to re-raise with that hand if I play it. But in a tournament, often a re-raise is investing too high a percentage of your stack because you're on a short stack. So if you want to see a flop, you might want to call and see it first. Not always. Sometimes you would do it, but there are some subtle differences. Of course, attacking short stacks is something you don't have to worry about in limit. So anytime you're talking about tournament play versus cash game play, the one key difference is the fact that there are no short stacks really to think about in a live cash game.
So at the World Series of Poker this year, it seems like a lot of pros are winning bracelets as opposed to years past. Why do you think that is?
Well, there's two reasons, I think. One, for most of the pros I've talked to, the big game's not really going right now.
All right.
And everyone's into it. Everyone's working out. Everyone's trying. It's become sort of a prestigious event that everyone's really thinking about. But the other thing that you have to look to, without question, is last year's structures were not good. Okay, they were much more luck-oriented, which allows for more random things to happen. The structures this year, they start fast. We've had virtually no complaints, but a couple people hey, you're playing from the get-go meaningful levels. And what that does is it gets the tournament going. It gets it done in an amount of time where you don't waste 4 or 5 hours in the beginning just throwing chips around.
Right.
But every level goes up so gradually. You go 4-8, 5-10, 6-12, 8-16, 1-2, 12-4, 12-24 in every tournament. And what that does, it allows the better players time to really use their skill rather than be forced to gamble a little bit prematurely. So you've seen the list of winners so far. Well, Mikey's got one, Eric Lindgren's got one, Nanan, David Singer, myself, and Ted Forrest came second in the event. You're seeing a lot more of the somewhat higher profile players win, I think specifically because the structures are more skill-based than they have been in the history of the game.
Well, you're on the Players Advisory Committee. Did you help them to design the new structures?
Yeah.
This is all you.
Well, I mean, I've had a structure in mind for years where you'd standardize every. The key to I honestly believe this. Okay, that I'm better at making structures than anything else I'm good at. Like poker, limit
That's
hold'em.
your forte.
I'm really good
maker.
at. Yes, I make structures. I'm really good at it, and I understand them really, really well.
Right.
And that comes from playing in a lot of different,
it makes sense.
tournaments based on bias.
Absolutely.
My firm belief is this, and it makes total sense. If you're playing in a higher buy-in event, you're paying more juice to Harris. Because of this, you should get more play. Okay, so if you're playing in a $1,500 buy-in tournament versus a $3,000 buy-in, there should be more play in the $3,000 than the $1,500. One of the easiest ways to do that is to simply use a similar structure, the same structure for every $1,000 to $3,000 buy-in, the exact same structure, but you simply start with more chips in the higher buy-in events. Now, outside of that, you have the championship bracelet events. These should have even more play. So you're going to add more levels, like the 255. Of course, the 1224 is already there, even in the smaller ones. But what I'd like to see for next year, which is what we're going to discuss, it was a little bit difficult to get done this year, is just a simple standardized structure. $1,500 limit events, all like this. Or actually, all events, same structure, different, starting stacks.
Okay, yeah. Well,
And
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with it. I think everyone's really happy with the structure. They all feel like there's never a point where they're like, are you serious? We're playing this high now?
Yeah. Well, you have to be happy that you won a bracelet with the new structure that you helped design. Did you have any other bets riding on the bracelet? I know a lot of pros have bets going on, and
Yes.
you look happy right now, Daniel.
Well, I have a standing bet with Ivy, where anytime we both play in a tournament, we have $200,000 bet on it.
And he played this event that you won?
Yeah, but it was that interesting because we also have a rule where if you show up late, or if say you're playing another tournament and the guy's short, it doesn't count.
Oh.
I showed up with a fresh stack and he lost half a stack already, so we were off. Then he got up to 3,200, and I had 36. He said, "Okay, how much you got?" I got 36. He goes, "I got 32. We're back on." I said, "Okay." So we're back on. I
Not
win
the
that.
best
I'm up
bet.
200 there. I also was offering 5-1. Last year people took me up on it, but I think they realized how stupid that is to give me 5-1. I mean, 5-1 is like stealing, really. I mean, and I'm not saying that because I think I'm great, but the fact is like in 11 years I've won 4, right? And I don't even feel like I've done that well, to be honest with you. To make that bet a break-even bet for me, I would have to play at the World Series for 6 years and win 1 bracelet every 6 years at 5-1. That's basically what it is, right?
Right.
And with all the higher buy-in events and the stud events and stud-ater events and the Omaha Hater Bet events that I do really well in,
Definitely.
I thought 5-1 was stealing. Everyone's laughing at Phil Ivey for taking 2-1 odds.
Yeah,
and I
heard
think,
about that.
People, it amazes me. Like Phil's good. He's really, really good at this poker thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't think for a second that Phil at 2-1 is a bad bet. I mean, I would bet on him at if I got 2.5-1 odds on Phil winning bracelet, I'd take it in a heartbeat. I think 1.8 is maybe pushing it a little bit, but this guy's an incredible stud player. He plays all the games really well, and he plays the games well that are like the higher buy-in, lower number of player fields, and he's playing every one, and he's focused and trying real hard. So
That's true.
even if he doesn't win one, I still wouldn't be betting against him, even at 1.8-1, because it's really close. I don't. He's good. People just underestimate how good of a poker player he is. I've had a lot more chance to play with him recently because we were deep in the stud.
And you've been impressed?
Yeah, I mean, he's focused like intently. I mean, he did make one bad call and was sick about it. And there's a gazillion in the pot, and he had to call one little itty bitty bet. And he had 3 aces, but was like, I can't believe I made that call. Worst call in history. Whereas everyone else in the tournament would have just been like, call, except me because I knew the guy had it. But no,
Obviously.
But no, I mean. I read the internet forums all the time and stuff, and these guys just like, oh my god, laughable. I'd put my bankroll on 1.81. I'm like, are you serious? You'd really put your whole bankroll against Phil Ivey to win a bracelet this year?
Doesn't seem like a smart bet.
Silly, silly boy.
Well, thank you very much for coming up today, Daniel. Congratulations on bracelet number 4. We'll talk to you when you get bracelet number 5 later in the series.
Sounds like a plan. I'm gonna get one too.
All right. Lizzie Harrison with Daniel Negreanu for Card Player TV.